Hi, this is Rigolosi, and today on Forgotten Mysteries, I have for you The Lunatic Time by John Roeburt. And this is copyright 1956 by Simon & Schuster, their Inner Sanctum imprint, as you can see here, and rather an interesting jacket design here, sort of Paul Klee-like. Abstract and odd, and the oddity of the cover matches the oddity of the contents. I'll get a little bit more into that in a moment. So, one of the things I love about the mystery, suspense, crime genre is that, you could live to be 100 and still learn about new writers that you have never heard of every day. It just, if you think about it, like if your goal in life is to read every mystery writer who's ever put pen to paper, I just don't think that could happen in 1,000 years. So a trip to a used bookstore, or even letting your fingers do the walking on the internet, will always reveal people you have never heard of. And John Roeburt falls into that category for me. I found this book in a used bookstore, and because it's an Inner Sanctum mystery published under that imprint, I automatically give it street cred because I think that was a great imprint. They published a lot of really good people, and I read the first couple of pages there in the bookstore, and I thought, this is different. This is going to be something different under the sun. So I really should get this. I don't really know much about John Roeburt. I did, a little bit of research before this video. Interestingly, the blurb on the back flap mentions that Anthony Boucher, that wonderful critic from the New York Times back in the day, called Roeburt the Theodore Dreiser of the mystery genre. So that is no faint praise, right? He must have thought very, very highly of John Roeburt. But information is rather hard to find. I think I read somewhere that he may have won an Edgar for a teleplay or a screenplay. But otherwise, I have never seen him anywhere before or since I got this book in the bookstore. I'll show you a picture of Mr. Roeburt back there, looking rather dapper and fashionable with his cigarette in the 1950s and his mustache, which are coming back apparently. So here's what I'll have to say. I'm still processing this book. I'm still reeling from it. It is a disturbing novel. And I'll tell you why. It's a first-person narrative. The narrator, who is a journalist who works for a magazine called New Era, based in New York, that basically has no subscribers and is just kept afloat by a philanthropic millionairess, serves as the private eye. And my God, he is angry to the point of rage that you feel on the page right from the beginning, to the point where it is uncomfortable. It is really, you don't feel personally threatened like Paul Roeburt or Harry Jonas is going to come to your house and kill you, but there's a palpable sense of violent anger in here. And it's combined with the most hardcore cynicism that you can imagine. Hardboiled by definition means cynicism. And let's face it, cynicism has its place, right? You can't get through a few decades of life, having the world beat you up a little bit and not develop a little bit of cynicism. And it can be the source of humor or insight, or what have you. But in this book, the cynicism is so dark and so bleak that it's rather hard to take. And yet at the same time, it's kind of like the proverbial train wreck, where you want to keep reading because you want to know what is going to happen. How is all of this going to get resolved? The plot is rather simple. Our can we call him hero or anti-hero? Our amoral protagonist hangs out, at a seedy bar in Manhattan. He hooks up with a woman whose brother she believes is falsely accused of murdering sort of a wealthy woman, not really a socialite, but a woman with some bucks. She's convinced he's innocent. She asks for Harry's help, and of course she and Harry get sexually involved, and ultimately they find the dead woman's address book. I love that from the 50s, right? Everybody had their address books that the police could grab and then investigate. I mean, who has them now, physically at least? And Harry is convinced that the dead woman, Mona Leeds, has been blackmailing these men in her little black book, and he investigates each of them individually. And his method of interrogation is vicious. There's no effort made to do what good cops do, which is kind of, customize your interrogation style to the person you're interrogating, right? Which seems to me to be the essence of good police work, is, understanding that kind of psychology and understanding who you have to push, who you have to be gentle with, who you can get really tough with, who you can threaten, who you can cajole. Harry is just threatening and nasty and sometimes violent. He's in therapy. He gets violent with his therapist. He is about to snap. And there are hints throughout the book. I see I'm kind of leaning more to the side as I get more into this video. There are hints throughout that he's recovering from a failed relationship that is driving him in such a way as to pursue the truth in this case for reasons that do not become clear until the very last chapter. So you've got to get through a lot of nastiness to get through what I will admit is a shocking and horrifying and disturbing last chapter. That last chapter, and looking back on the structure of the book, really made me respect John Roeburt's craft and his ability to plot. Very well done in that regard. And the title ends up being quite accurate because Harry he's on the verge of lunacy. This is his lunatic time as he is unraveling. And, a lot of books that seek to portray the mental or psychological unraveling of a character, I don't know, they feel kind of forced, or they feel like nothing we've seen before, haven't seen before. But here, the language is so fractured and jagged and viciously cruel that it almost gives new meaning to the word hard-boiled. I'm trying to think of of a term for what would go beyond hard boiled. This is maybe like fried to a crisp, or covered in lava, or, you know, the surface of Venus in terms of how hard boiled it is. So I finished this last night, and I'm still kind of reeling, as I mentioned. What modern readers will need to know before picking up this book is that Harry is not only misogynistic, I mean, really, truly misogynistic, like you have not seen. I mean, angry at womankind. But he's also homophobic in a very nasty and condescending way. Although, one thing I found interesting is that books from this era usually use, you know, terminology that has been sort of reclaimed now. You know, they use queer or fairy or the FAG word, that ugly word. But this is the only book I can remember of this era that uses the word gay, gay to mean homosexual. And it almost seems before its time in that regard. I mean, those who are historians of these things, please let me know if I'm wrong. But I really didn't think that gay came into common parlance until quite a bit later, you know, maybe the 70s or the 80s. I should have looked this up before making this video, but at least it gives me a point of discussion here. So if you are willing to get slapped in the face by a book and have it kind of get its claws into you in a way that is very uncomfortable, and you can handle that, then I think you may find this book interesting and well done, and it is certainly memorable. I will always remember this book. Will I read any more by John Roeburt? I don't know. I've done a little bit of searching around, and I see that his books are available for pretty reasonable prices. It was just so ugly. I don't know that I want to spend my time around that kind of ugliness, if this book is indeed characteristic of his work, which I wouldn't be able to tell until I read any more books. So it's kind of a catch-22 for me there. As I was reading, I was comparing in my mind the works of Andrew Vaux, who I really like. And so his books deal with a lot of ugliness. But it's the villains who are ugly. Ugly, horrible, nasty people, straight from the devil, right? Straight like Satan on earth. But those people are not Vaux heroes. Vaux heroes are societal misfits, but who are capable of love and friendship and sticking together, and their own type of morality where they try to do good for people. In contrast, our protagonist here is none of that. And you do kind of find out why, and it does give you a bit of sympathy for him in the end. But boy, it is harrowing to get there. So that's what I've got to say about John Roeburt and the Lunatic Time. It coshed me over the head in a way that no recent book has, and that's one of the reasons why I was looking forward to sharing it with you all on here. If anybody knows more or has any inside scoop on John Roeburt, I would like to know. Please feel free to leave a comment. And I definitely have to read something now that is kinder and gentler, because I just need a break from all that horror of this book. Okay, hope this video didn't disturb you, but you know, you need to know what you're getting into when you read books, and I think it's my duty to tell you that. Okay, have a good night. Thank you.